Hey YouTube, it's Justin, aka Demonic Sweaters, here with another drum video. Today, I'm going to be changing this Eastar kids drum set that I got a while ago and I made a video about already. I'm going to be modifying that into basically being a miniature drum kit for an adult, which is me. I'm the adult. So I ordered various parts, and what I'm going to do is just show you all the different stuff I'm going to do to make this thing a little bit better and a little bit higher for a big person to play it, and hopefully it'll go good. Now this may or may not be something you want to do yourself. I mean, if you just happen to have one of these drum sets lying around, then it may be worth getting the parts to upgrade it like this, but I wouldn't go out and buy one to specifically do this. If you just end up with one, yeah, it's fine. But if you bought one at full price and then bought the parts and everything and all the work you put into it, you could just buy a much nicer drum set. You could buy like a Ludwig Questlove Breakbeats or a Tama Club Jam Flyer or something like that and have a great compact set for about the same price or maybe just a little bit more than you would spend by buying one of these and upgrading it with all the parts. But if you just like doing this kind of thing and you just have these, you know, like little drums lying around and want to do something like this, then by all means, follow my advice in this video. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. First off, let me just show you guys on the screen here what we're starting with. This is a Eastar kids drum set. It comes with a 16-inch bass drum, 10-inch snare drum, 8 and 10-inch toms, and a 12-inch floor tom. It has some kind of really crappy, cheap mounting hardware on it, as well as pretty low bass drum spurs, and you know, it's pretty low to the ground overall. And then this little kind of cheap cymbal stand thingy that comes on it as well. So I'm basically going to be replacing all of the mounting hardware on it with slightly better hardware. It's not like it's amazing or anything, but it's a little bit better. And I got some longer bass drum spurs for it, and then I got a bass drum lift for it, as well as what else? Well, actually for the snare, well, I'll get into this in the video, but I'm actually going to be swapping out the drums a little bit because I actually think the one that I got was a little bit weird from the factory. And let me just show you what I mean by that. This is the snare drum that it came with, and then this is the second rack tom that it came with. Both of them are 10-inch, but if you'll notice something here, the snare drum is actually deeper than the second rack tom, which when you look at the photos on this kit, that is not the case. The rack tom should be deeper than the snare drum. And so what I'm thinking happened here is they actually mixed these two drums up in the factory and put the snare on the the second rack tom. But the snare on this thing is a very simple internally mounted snare. So it's not that big a deal. I could just take that out. And I actually have new mounting hardware, and I'm going to put that on this snare drum and turn this into my rack tom. And this drum I'm actually not going to use. I'm going to take this drum home, and probably the other rack tom too, the small rack tom, use that as my rack tom. And then I also have this snare drum, which is one of my custom made hybrid snares. This is a 10-inch snare, and this is better than the snare that it came with. Even if I switch the parts back, this one's still better. And I was having trouble selling this one, so I figured, you know, I'd just put acoustic heads back on it, and then I'd already have a hybrid snare drum to use with this kit too. And also it's a 10-inch as well, so it's a nice match. So this will go with the rest of the drums. And then I'm going to have this as my rack tom, and then I'll go over all the other parts that I'm going to be using as well in the video. So let's just go ahead and get started. I have to take everything down. It's up on the shelf, and then I'll show you guys the parts and what I'm going to be replacing, and hopefully it all goes well, and we'll end up with something pretty cool. Okay, let's start off with the bass drum here. What I'm going to be replacing is this, which is the tom holder, tom mount, and what I'm going to be replacing it with is this one right here, which is actually very similar. It's just a little bit better. Now these tom arms are actually not quite 7/8 size. I think they're like 5/8 or something. And this one actually is 7/8. So this will use standard pearl size tom arms. And actually I got a whole set with this. This is Sound Percussion Labs hardware is what this is. And so I got the full set with this. It was only $20 for both tom arms and the tom mounts and the bass drum mount, which is a really good deal. And this is just way better made than the one that's on here. You can tell just by looking at these wing nuts. These are like very cheap and crappy. You know, they're working, but they're just, I know I'll break these. They're just really cheap and thin, and it's just not that good. So this one's much better. And thankfully, you know, since this is from a smaller set as well, the holes look like they're pretty close. as far as lining up, although it doesn't look as close through the camera there when I was looking at it myself. But I have a big drill bit, so I can actually drill out those holes a little bit bigger and hopefully make that work without tearing up the drum too much. But it does have a metal backing plate, so that'll support it even if I have to drill those holes quite a bit larger. It should be fine. So first thing I need to do is replace that. And I'm also going to be replacing, sorry for the camera work, these bass drums. Well, these are the new bass drum spurs, which are much, they're basically the same type of spurs. They're just much longer. And what's on here right now are these down here. Let me just take that out. So that is the length of the one that's on there right now. And this is the length of the new one. So you can see it's quite a bit longer. And the reason for that, or the reason why I need that, is because what is already on here right now that is part of the conversion is this bass drum lift. And these old legs actually don't go high enough to work with this bass drum lift. So the new ones will. And I'm probably going to replace this whole piece as well, because this, again, looks much better than the one that it came with. Even though it's a similar style, but this one just looks bigger and more heavy duty. So I'm going to replace those two. So that's the first step. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I got the new bass drum legs on there, or spurs, or whatever you want to call them. And yeah, they work pretty good. The only thing is, you know, just given how these type of spurs are, and, you know, that the bass drum is lifted off the ground, they're kind of like, you know, they're really not the greatest angle, I don't think. You know, they look okay, but I think, you know, it might not be that sturdy. So what I'm going to do is actually take one of the old legs and put a third one right in the center, you know, like down from there. So I'll have a third support just to give it a little more, so all the pressure isn't on those two legs, you know, all pushing up like that. So I think a third leg right in the middle will be good. So I'm going to go ahead and do that too. Okay, that only took a second, and yeah, that definitely makes me feel a lot more confident in this setup. So I think that's going to definitely stabilize it a lot more, like that. And now it's, you know, it's very solid on there, because having that support right in the middle definitely takes the pressure off of those two side, you know, bending. So that's going to be very helpful. So now I need to swap out this mounting hardware, and we'll see how that goes. All right, I got the mounting hardware on there, and that was actually the most difficult part, just lining up all the different holes. I had to drill basically 3 new holes for the hardware itself, and then drill out the tom arm holes a little bit bigger to make it work, but I got it to work, so I think it should be good. It's definitely much more solid than it used to be, and it'll be good. And plus, they go up pretty high, too. I'll show you. Yeah, I mean, I can go up really high, actually. So should definitely be able to get them high enough for me. So, all right, now I've got to put the tom mount on the toms, or at least one tom, and then I'll be done and put the bass drum back together, and that'll be it. All right, couple things. Well, finished the mounting hardware, the riser system with the new spurs, and never mind the drummer next door. He's practicing his double bass drum. He's getting pretty good at it, though. And I forgot to mention that I got some longer floor tom legs, because that's actually pretty important if you're doing an upgrade to one of these kids kit, or from one of these kids kits. And basically any floor tom leg is going to be longer than the ones that are on here. I just got the cheapest Gibraltar floor tom legs. And also forgot to mention all the cost of everything so far. The mounting hardware with the tom mounts was $20. The bass drum spurs, I think, were $24, so $44. And then another, like, around $20, or actually, I think they were like $16, but we'll just round up to $20. So about $60 I'm putting into it, and I'm not counting the snare drum because I already had that. But if you were to count that, that's actually only like a $30 snare drum. $35 on Amazon before all of the conversions that I did to it to make it hybrid. So yeah, so 60, 70, 80, 90, about $90 I'm putting into it. So yeah, I mean, like I said, you probably wouldn't want to do this. You probably wouldn't want to buy this just to do this, but if somebody gave you one or something, then it'd be good. And I put this extra bass drum spur here, just in case something happened, or if I lost the other one, then I'll have an extra one up there, because that was there for the cymbal mount, so I just stuck the leg in there. And then I have my other tom arm. I'm not going to set up with 2 rack toms. I'm going to use that for a cymbal mount. So I need to clean up and make some space in here before I show you guys the rest. But let me do that now, and then I'll continue. Oh, another thing. Well, no, I'll show you that in a second. All right, so here's all the parts so far. Higher floor tom, new snare drum, bass drum, nice and sturdy, good mounting hardware. Now there's one more thing that I forgot to mention, and it's right there. And let me show you what I'm going to do. So the wonders of sticker paper. So this is going to be my new bass drum logo. Just need to trim a little bit off here. And let me reposition the camera so you guys can see this. On there straight in one shot. Not mess it up. Sorry, Eastar. I like demonic sweaters better. There we go. Okay, I think I'm finally done. And I think it looks pretty awesome, actually. And it sounds really, really pretty good. I was just playing, I'll play some more on the video here so you guys can hear it. I'm not gonna mic it up though, I'm pretty tired. I'm just gonna give you some camera audio, but eventually you'll be hearing this. Well, actually, I don't know how you'll be hearing this thing. I'm probably gonna use it to busk. But again, my original goal was to be compact, but I ended up making it a little bit more, I don't know, fancier than I probably should have, but it's still pretty cool, you know, like it ended up coming out really nice. I think it looks awesome. And the sizes, in case you didn't know, were 16 for the bass, 10 for the rack tom, 12 for the floor tom, 10 for the snare. And then the cymbal, let me show you how I have this mounted. Sorry, I have my other kid over here, so I have to maneuver around that thing too. So, get over here. This is behind the kit. Bass drum's up on the riser. That's the snare stand and the hi-hat stand that came with the kit. I forgot to mention I got a longer hi-hat post, or yeah, hi-hat rod, and that was also Gibraltar. And that, it's kind of a crappy stand. It doesn't really open that well. But I actually have another hi-hat stand I'll probably use. It's a Mapex, almost just like this bass drum pedal. So I'll probably use that to match. Now my cymbal stand, I'm just using the tom arm, and then I have it clamped on there, this like auxiliary Gibraltar, which I already had, so I don't know, I guess you could count that in the cost, and I think that was about 30 bucks. So what were we at, 90 before? So 90, 120, and then plus the hi-hat rod, which was like $12, so 132 bucks worth of stuff. And of course the cymbals. I don't know how much you want to add in here, but like I said, you know, this is not something that I'm not trying to say, oh, this is going to be so cheap to do this. I just wanted to do it, so I did it. And I'm pretty exhausted, actually, because I've been working at this pretty much all day, and I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night either, so yeah. But anyway, let me play a little bit so you guys can hear what the kit sounds like. The kick drum sounds insanely good, actually. I'm pretty amazed at how good that kick drum sounds. But yeah, let me just go ahead and flip the camera around and play a little bit. All right, that's going to be all, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. This is my Eastar compact drum kit that I converted from a kid's set. And don't forget to subscribe, click the bell icon, like button. Sorry for the background noise, just another drummer next door. But hopefully you guys can hear me okay. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Check out my links down below. I have my music on Spotify and Apple Music. You can stream Demonic Sweaters as well as Manasota, my other project, on all of the streaming services. So be sure to check that out. And have a great weekend. I'll see you guys really soon. Later.